I understand that a lot of people who find my videos for the very first time are seeking immediate help and support with their gambling addiction. And so often you search for these sorts of things, these sorts of videos and this sort of support after a particularly bad instance as a result of your addiction. I remember the very first time I started searching online, found the Gamcare forum and found other videos from people such as Andy Margett. And this was at a time when I had had particularly bad losses, when I felt I was approaching or at rock bottom, and I was desperately finding or searching for something to support my recovery or to tell me that everything was going to be okay. Now, I can't stand here and tell you that everything's going to be okay. However, what I can do is share a very personal story with you, highlighting my own personal rock bottom, and hopefully this will not only make you feel so much that you're not alone, but also give you some sort of hope that there is a path to recovery. Contrary to my most recent video where I talked about the benefits of quitting gambling, what you don't need sometimes in your most desperate times, as I have been many times, what you don't need is someone who is gamble-free for a significant period of time preaching to you how amazing a gamble-free life is. It's no benefit now to tell you how bad gambling is, the damage it can cause, and how great it is when you're not doing it, because you are very much in the midst of that. You are experiencing that harm, and you are probably wishing that you were at a place where you weren't gambling, but you're not. So just telling you all about the benefits of not gambling and the devastation that gambling can cause is totally a moot point. So in this video, like I say, I want to share a tale of some of my darkest moments and tell you what that made me realise about myself, about my life, and about my gambling. Just want to say hi, hope you're keeping safe, hope you're keeping sane. Thank you to everyone for your continued support of the channel. I'll talk more about that at the end of the video. So let's talk about this day in question. It was a day of tragedy for me personally. I had lost a family member. Now, this family member lived very remotely from me, 600 miles. They were ill, but they were taken very ill very quickly, very suddenly, and they passed away without remotely the opportunity of me getting there. Even if I'd got to the nearest airport and flown, I wouldn't have made it on time. So this person I lost in my life, who was my uncle, I had a real a kinship with. He was in many ways very similar to me. He'd struggled with substances, with addiction. He was a born cynic, and he was a reasonably solitary character. He had many of the same personal traits, personal attributes that I could see in myself. And when I lost him, I felt like I'd lost a future version of me. It was a terrible day, and I was unable to go and see him. I was unable to go and say goodbye, and I was unable to go and mourn in the normal way. So I did what I would normally do at that time in order to cope with bad news, devastating news, and that was to go to the pub, to drink excessively, and to gamble. And I did just that. I went to the pub, I drank excessively, and I gambled. I lost a huge amount of money. Then, when I was just thinking that things couldn't get worse, I ended up having to pay out a load of money from my bank account. This money that I was then relying upon to live on for the rest of the month suddenly came out of my account for something that I'd completely forgotten about. I found myself in a situation where I could no longer drink, I could no longer gamble, I didn't have a penny to my name, I didn't know what I was going to do. So I walked home in a very drunken state, and on the way home, crossing the road, I stumbled up a curb and I stacked it, smack, straight down on the pavement. Split my leg open, I had blood rushing down my leg, soaked through my Stone Island jeans, which were then ruined. And yeah, it was incredibly painful. Thankfully, the alcohol numbed the pain to some extent, but I got home, and thankfully, my wife, my partner at the time, but my then wife was away, and so I got home to an empty house, and I stood there and looked at myself in the mirror, absolutely hammered, blood streaming down my leg, having lost, possibly one of the people in my life that I resonated with the closest, lost all my money, had to acknowledge my bad habits, had to acknowledge my addictions. It was my lowest point, and I stared at myself in the mirror, but with all this negative stuff, with all this stuff, I almost had to laugh to myself because I realised something. And this is something that maybe, hopefully, you will come to realise. All this shit had happened, including the ruined Stone Island jeans, which, for some reason, was a real big thing at the time. But anyway, that's by the by. I came to the realisation that I was still here. That I still existed, I was still alive. The mirror I was looking in was in the roof over my head. Yes, I was skin. Yeah, couldn't buy any more food for the month, although, thankfully, I was later bailed out. But there was food in the cupboard. I was alive. Fuck the jeans, I will mourn the loss of my uncle in my own time. I can deal with my gambling and the alcohol at another time. I will sober up. I will get better. But the reason I almost smiled to myself was the realisation that I was still here in order to do that. I was still here living, so I was able to address whatever came my way. There are certain tragedies we cannot undo. There are certain things in life that we have no control over, and the death of loved ones and other such instances are those things. We cannot control those things. But what we can do is we control how we react to them. We can swear to ourselves that we're going to live a better life. We're going to live our own lives in a way that would make, something good come out of something so bad. Whatever happens, you could end up skin on the balls of your ass with ripped jeans and blood rushing down your leg after mourning the loss of someone you weren't even able to say goodbye to. But you yourself are still here. You're still able to carry on, and you're still able to get into whatever path you want for the rest of your life and make the improvements required. This isn't to say rock bottom doesn't have a basement. I've said this time and time again. Rock bottom does have a basement, so never think that things can't get any worse, because it is possible that they will. But when you feel that you're at your lowest point, at your lowest ebb, almost when you feel like I did when I finally tripped up that curb on the way back from the pub, when you feel that things can't get any worse, realise that you're still here to fight them. And using my advice, but my advice of people far smarter than me, support from whatever sources you can get it, and whether your problem be gambling, alcohol, drugs, whatever, all right, there is a better path for you. And sometimes it's that realisation that, hey, all these bad things have happened so close together. All this tragedy and heartache and self-inflicted pain has come upon me at once. And I'm still here standing. Yes, I'm battered. I'm literally bruised and cut and beaten. All right. But I am still here, and I can still fight on. And I can forge a better path for myself in the future. Something that maybe those people that are no longer with us would be proud of. I'm amazed I got through this video without becoming overwhelmed with emotion, but I feel like it's going that way. So I shall leave you with that. And I say, like I say, whatever position you're in, there is a better life. Stay safe, stay sane, and thank you to everyone who continues to support the channel. I will have always put a link to my Patreon in the description. New content on there. Ability to DM me. Doesn't feel like the right time to promote it, but I will. But for however you choose to support me, please watch some videos if you need some support, but get some professional support as well. There's loads and loads of links in the description of people far smarter and far more qualified to help you with your addiction than me. So stay safe, stay sane, and let's hope for a cheerier future, a brighter future, and hopefully one that's free of gambling. Take care, guys. All the best.